Hey there, busy mama. I got you. No need to worry. I did the homework for you. As your wellness concierge, I'll connect you to greater health and guide you to be fully alive and well. I'm a former Navy nurse and lactation consultant turned homeschool mama, focusing my love of education and health and wellness toward helping others. I don't even pretend to have it all together, and I'm totally okay with that. I can keep it real. I'm here for encouragement, sharing my voice and my journey, and to have fun. And just maybe a little learning too. Here, you'll find education, empowerment, and authenticity on a weekly basis. I am your host, Stacey Myers, the Hotmess Homeschooler. Welcome to the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have on Liz Montigny, who is a licensed life coach, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Stacey. Thanks for asking me to come on. Yes, I am a licensed Ziglar life coach. If you've ever heard of Zig Ziglar, he was a motivational speaker, an author. He did a lot of stuff. And that just simply means I'm trained by the Ziglar team to help you reach your goals. So I love doing that. And I specialize in coaching Catholic women to act on the dreams that God has put on their heart and know that that's okay. And I love helping women reach their goals in a sense of balance and not guilt and all those good things. So yeah, that's me. So thanks, Stacey.
Yeah, that's awesome. We were just talking about how it's been a while. Liz has been on before. So one of my favorite co-hosts. And and speaking of Zig Ziglar, I love his motivational quotes. Like they just always hit right here. It's so good.
They're gold. Yeah, exactly.
So good. Liz recently did an Instagram post on in the work that she does on the Wheel of Life, and the personal spoke, and it was on creation. And I thought, wow, this is such a great topic. It resonated with me, so I figured it would resonate with you. So Liz, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so let me just mention what the Wheel of Life is for a second, for those of you who may not know what it is. You've probably seen it, you've probably heard of it, but it's just the idea that our life has kind of these 7 key areas. And if you think of a wheel and you have spokes coming off the wheel, so that's mental, spiritual, physical, family, financial, personal, and career. And the post that Stacey is talking about, I was talking about the personal spoke. And I love that spoke, especially for us women, because it's something we're always longing for and trying to figure out how to do within all the duties that we have to do as a mom, or maybe we have a business or a job or whatever. And I love to talk about that with my clients because most of us are not spending enough time on this spoke. And it's really where we get our fuel to not only serve, but also serve within the home, but serve outside of the home. And also it's where we get our creative spark. And whether you think you're a creative person or not, that's a whole other debate, but everybody is in some sense. And you need to have that reignited for yourself in order to do all the things you want to do and be the person you want to be. And if you're not nurturing that, burnout is not far off. So.
Yeah, no, and I love it. And in your post specifically, you said, and you mentioned now that the personal time is what gives you that creative energy. And I've never thought about that, but that is so true. And I like how you mentioned, which I think probably is so common for most women, especially in this stage. Like I was saying, we're so consumed with keeping our little people alive. And I'm in a season of chauffeuring them to every activity under the sun and just making sure that all of their needs are met as I'm growing these little humans, But then it's like, what's left for me?
you know, and yes, I do make time for prayer and I'm doing some other things, but where does the fun, the creation, the filling up of myself come from other than obviously like physical self-care type things, right?
Yes.
Which is important too. But and I like how, you know, you said, like, I think the two common probably issues would be not having any time to do it, or not feeling like you have any time to do it. And then also, even if you had the opportunity, feeling like, what the heck would I even do? You know, what does that mean for me? You know, I'm not, like you said, I'm not creative, or you don't think of yourself as being a creative person.
Yeah. And you know, the good point, the really key point there is women thinking they don't have time for personal time. And I recently read Christy Wright's book, Take Back Your Time. And she's really talking about time as a mindset. And we all have the same 24/7. Okay. Yes, we all have different responsibilities within that, but she is really looking at it, and other coaches have talked about this too, really taking out your calendar and blocking that time, making an appointment with yourself and keeping it. And it does take some practice to keep an appointment with yourself, because you can always be like, oh, I can do that later, or I really have to do this. But I challenge you not to do that, because as I said earlier, you're eventually going to burn yourself out. But also, I think you're going to be a better wife, mother, homeschooler, you know, business person, whatever you got going on, when you take that personal time, because as we talked about, that's where you can refuel yourself and get this creative energy. And now what I'm talking about in terms of doing something creative, you don't have to overwhelm yourself with the thought of, I'm not a creative person. It's not necessarily about that. It's more about, how can you be creative? Well, you could go for a walk in nature, listen to your favorite music, and that's going to recharge you. You know, there's a whole list. If you want a list, actually, I have a whole list of like 20 or so things that, you know, can trigger your mind for what you can do. But so if you're one of those people that's like getting stuck, like, what would I do? I mean, don't make it complicated. I always tell my clients to think of 3 things that they can do, that they can go to quickly, you know, that maybe are hopefully free, and just kind of always at their disposal to be like, okay, I have 15 minutes. I'm going to go do this. Or I scheduled this 40 minutes for myself on Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to go do this. And you're right, Stacey. I mean, self-care, a lot of what we heard about self-care is physical. And that's actually so important. But really, self-care just means taking care of yourself. So however you do that, it doesn't necessarily have to be sitting in the bathtub with bonbons. I mean, that's probably not realistic, right? So it's however
because most moms ain't got time for that.
No, we ain't got time for that. So it's however you take care of yourself, you know. Some of the things I love to do are read, you know, in a comfy, quiet place. 15 minutes of reading can like change your life on a daily basis. Okay. I found a favorite cafe of mine. So I always just check in with my husband and say, hey, I want to go there on such and such a date. And I just go there and sit there and look at the water and sip my little espresso. My espresso is like $3. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? So don't make it hard for yourself.
Well, and I was just going to say, I love your post even on, sorry, my dogs clearly want to join in the podcast. I have no idea. I'm getting a package. I'm so sorry.
That's awesome.
Listen, they don't call me the Hotmess Homeschooler for nothing.
That's right.
Oliver, can you manage this, please? Thank you.
And that was Indian Scout, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, they're now Instagram famous for their on the reel I made, but it's oh so true. Now let's see if I can remember where I was going with this. Oh, you're late. You just did a post too. Clearly I was been on Instagram lately, but on just I think it was your little cup of espresso that you posted, and even just taking that time to not carry around a coffee all the time, to make that time to go sit. And again, 5, 10, 15 minutes, something that's just yours to carve out in our busy schedule. And most of us don't have hours and hours of endless time. And so speaking of that, I've had several friends go on a silent retreat this past week. And I was not familiar with it, although I have a deep longing in my soul to experience this, because I've never had this opportunity. But they went, and for 4 days, it was complete silence, not even at meals. They couldn't even look at each other. There was no sort of communication. They were not on their phones. And I mean, completely, totally immersed and unplugged. Now, there were some elements of structure to it, but overall, the priest said, if God's calling you to sleep for 20 hours, like sleep. So it was just to, again, open yourself up and see. And I had a friend that was there. She has 8 kids, and her and her husband both were able to make this, which I find incredible. But they both told me it was so powerful for them. And she loves to paint and do stuff. And she had all these like endless hours to be able to really harness that. She felt so connected and so close to God, and, was able to produce. And I love that. But for most of us, we're don't have the opportunity to do something like that, or we don't have the time, or it's just not feasible at this moment, So I like the idea of thinking about it on a daily basis, as opposed to one big, obviously that was great. We'd love to have that if you could take it, but how can we take that and break it down into our daily life so we can experience some of that refreshment? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you can schedule it daily. Maybe you schedule it 2 times a week, but I think the important thing there is, especially for those of us who may be married with children, is just communicate with your partner about how important that is to you and why you need it. And you're not talking about hours and hours here. Okay.
Right.
So, and just like scheduling it and being clear. And because I know when I make that commitment to personal time and I come back to the tasks that I need to do, I'm like, oh, well, I was stuck on this before, but look at that. It solved itself. Or, gosh, I was really having a hard time with my kiddo, but okay, I get it now. You need me to be this for you, and I can be that now because I'm refreshed,
And you can see things with a brand new perspective and new eyes, it's
totally. Absolutely. It's so important. And I think the 2 key things to remember is you do have to have the time, because you are in charge of your calendar. So make the appointment with yourself. Number 2, if you need to be all these things to all these people, then you need to make the time so that you actually can be all those things to all those people and serve. Think of it as, I'm going to be of better service.
Well, so, I like when you said too, like, how can you create when you don't have anything to draw from? Like, how are you filling yourself up? Which that's so important. And then the other thing too, you said not rocket science, but you have to practice to honor that appointment with yourself, which I know I do, because it's like all these other things like seem more pressing, or especially when you're at home, like, I know I have to do this at the computer, but then I walk in the kitchen and the dishes are dirty. And then, the dog's made a mess over here. You know what I mean? You have all the kids left this later, all this stuff that you're like, and now we have to go to this appointment. So, to be able to say, well, what would the day have looked like had I taken and just said, okay, that stuff can stay. Let me just take this 15 minutes for myself, which that can be a challenge.
It can be. And here's the thing though, all those things are always going to be there. The kitchen's always going to be trashed, probably.
Sadly. Laundry will never go away.
The laundry. I can wash it, but I can't fold it in time. Like,
same girl,
anyway.
same.
But so I mean, that's always going to be there. And there's always something pulling at your time. So it does take practice. And but you need to be able to renew yourself on a regular basis, because you don't want to be giving people what's left of you, just the crumbs,
the sloppy leftovers. Especially, don't you feel like that's what your family gets a lot, especially if you're a working mom, or you pour into your volunteer time or whatever, and it's like, our family, the people we love the most, deserve better, right? Totally. You deserve better. God deserves better.
Yes, exactly. Like you were made for greatness, so how can you be great? And I think for a lot of women, they kind of shy away from that, because like, who am I? But God made you. Try to be the best for him, if nobody else,
Right.
So yeah.
Yes, we should do all things right for the Lord, unto the Lord. I told you this post really resonated with me. I love how you said we were born to create, like humans are born to create. Not just procreate, but to create. Right. And our culture is a one of consumption. Just want to consume. It's taking, right? Like creation is giving, and then culture is taking. So even when, we live in this world, and like I said, at this season of our lives, for most of us, we're feeling consumed by all of our things in our little environment, right? It's just a lot. So how can we create, when, even if it's something simple like putting a nice meal together for your family, or if we have a new offering for our business or something, we do have to set that time aside. And like I said, I like the specific tips of making it, on your calendar, and having it simple, accessible, and hopefully free.
Yeah, exactly.
Will you give me the link of those ideas so I can post it in the notes, so that way if people are like, wow, this sounds great, but like, how do I make this even happen?
What do I even do? Yeah. I will totally do that. Absolutely.
And I had a couple experiences lately, like different moms things through my church, where it was like arts and craftsy type stuff. Like I made a plant terrarium and a mosaic cross, or but it was so much fun to just have that couple hours in the evening and just to do something fun. And then I had something to show for it, which, so that talking like physical creation, wow, it's hanging up on my wall now. It's beautiful. I like looking at it, and that was, I'm like, oh, I made that, right. It has a good feeling, right, attached to it. And
you had a key word there, fun. Yeah, fun. What a concept.
I know. And then like I said, I loved that. And then even thinking about I've lived now in my house for 4 years, and this is, as a military family, this is a lifetime, and it's the longest I've ever lived in one place. But I'm realizing now, as I look around, I'm like, wow, there's so much that is still left from when we first moved in, that probably every drawer, every cabinet, every shelf needs to be gone through, because I bet 4 years, my kids look different. They act different. They are different than when we moved here. I'm the same, you're always changing and growing. So I'm like, I need to go through and get all of this. And it's not that I don't have enough space, but am I using it well? And then to think about is terms of creation, even just using what I have, how can I either through decluttering or changing up the purpose of, we talked about changing rooms, and doing different things, what can happen that can enliven and freshen up that space. So, and that is a form of creation, how can you make your home feel more inviting, or even feel better for yourself, or carving out a little place for you to pray or recharge or read in the afternoon,
I think you're bringing up a really great point, just decluttering. That just makes more physical space, but also more mental space, because you're like, ooh, that stuff is unloaded. And also, as you say, just rearranging your physical space can refreshen your thoughts and how you approach things. So I think that's a great way to do it. It's also very immediate. Like you see the results because you just did that. You're like, oh, okay, good. Yeah.
Well, and again, it's nice. So it's like some of the things that you do, you don't necessarily see, but like when you create something physical or you change something around, like it is nice. And it's almost like a reminder to you, like, oh, that was really fun. I should do something like that again soon.
Right. Like, why am I not doing that? Oh, okay.
And another way, like I was sharing with you, like this past year between homeschool, just all the different things, my husband has been in and out, mostly out. It's been a challenge. And then of course I love to do everything. So I put myself out there in so many different ways, and it's been a little bit of a challenge. It's been exhausting. A great year. Like I've loved it, but I had the realization like, wow, this was too much. Right. Mm-hmm. And with my own business, like I was giving myself away everywhere else and not focusing on my own business and the things that I wanted to do. And I just kind of had a stuck maybe or unsure or like, what am I, and I took some time a couple weeks ago to like refresh some of the graphics and get on my website and make these little changes that I've been thinking about. And honestly, like taking that time and doing that, I was like, well, is this what really matters? But what it did for me was make me feel, I'm like, oh, I like this. I like, and I forgot how much fun I had doing my business. And it just really gave me energy now. And I'm so much more excited to serve and to think about like, what offerings can I bring to other people? And so, I mean, that's really, I think I've seen it in my life, and so it must be true.
Yeah, that's right. It's true.
And you also have some creative things that you've been working on. Do you want to share with everybody?
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, I started what I'm calling a theater ministry. I started it years ago, but of course, in the last couple years, it's been on hold for obvious reasons that I won't say out loud. But but I call it the Marion Theater Project, and it's a collection of short plays based on the Rosary. And I've been working on them a lot lately because I have some performances coming up, and that's what kind of prompted that post that I shared with everybody, because I had been away from it for a while, and I like forgot how much it fills me up and how good it feels and how fun it is. And so I needed to remind myself, the coach needed to remind herself to work that in more often, as opposed to just certain times of the year or whatever it may be.
Or leaving it just in this little box over here.
Yeah, like it's over here, it needs to be throughout. So so that has been really fun, and I'm just glad to be like relaunching it, if you will. And I can't wait to bring that to others, because I just think art is a great way to evangelize, but also it's like you're in a community space, but also personally you're receiving it in a different way. Everybody receives it in a different way. So it's just a fun overall experience, both for me as a performer, but also to hear how the audience reacts to it. So I'm excited. Thank you for asking.
That's awesome. And I love that, and just in talking, you're looking at ways of incorporating things into your business. And I mean, I think all of that's so beautiful, because again, we don't need to put things in a box, because that's not how we were designed, even as people, and my focus obviously is health and wellness, but we're not just a body. We're not just a soul. We're not just a mind. We're, like we are all of these things. And we all do much better if we can live integrated. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
And not that it's perfect every day and it's never going to be in balance, but it's, if you can bring these little things, you know what I mean, here and there into the more everyday life, then I think we feel and can act as our best selves.
Exactly. Well said.
So again, I just want to remind you of Liz's 3 tips: simple, accessible, and free. Find something that can lift you up and recharge you. Make that appointment in your planner, and practice with honoring that. I will post the links of the books that she mentioned, and if Liz will give the link for her tips, her 20 ideas. And any other things that you wanted to add in closing?
No, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
And I'll put Liz's links in there so you can follow her along all of her ministries and her work process. And if you need to have any more specific tips or you want some personal coaching, Liz is an amazing, amazing coach, and she'll be your girl. So thank you all. Have a great day, and I will see you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Liz.
Hey, thanks for listening. Head on over to hotmesshomeschooler.com where you'll find all the things. Connect with me on socials, check out the blog, and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. I look forward to serving you. Have a wonderful day, and until next time, be alive and well.